All right, so thanks again for the introduction. So the small movie was in French, but you'll get again a bit of the explanation in English for those who didn't understand. So my name is Deborah Heintze. I'm a co-founder of Lunaphore, a startup company in the medtech field. And today I'm going to talk to you about the transfer from the university to entrepreneurship. And actually, I think it will address also a few questions you had before about support. I'm really going to base my talk about how we got support from all the people around us to actually go to the market. I mean, we're not on the market yet, but go out of the university, which is very important for us. So starting at the very beginning, I'll just go through the team. So there is Atatürk, who is the founder and CEO. He's from Turkey, but came here to do his PhD at EPFL in collaboration with a university hospital in Lausanne called CHUV. And he did his PhD in microsystems, and this is where he developed the whole technology that is now the technology that we have for the startup. Then there's Diego, who is the CTO, so really in charge of the research and development of the company. He comes from Argentina, so we're a bit from everywhere in the world. And he is now doing his PhD in the same lab as Atatürk. And then there is myself, so I had my master in bioengineering here at EPFL, and I had the chance to work for a year in Boston developing a microfluidic platform that is very similar to what we're working on now. And yeah, I worked at the technology transfer office, but I'll come back to that. So this is an overview of the whole EPFL. I mean, you can see the Rolex Learning Center. You can see here's the Innovation Park, and it's where all the startups are, some also bigger companies. And basically, I took some physics course there, mathematics course there, chemistry. So I mean, the whole campus is a big hub where you have plenty of different fields. And about a year ago, I actually a bit more than a year ago, I finished my studies in bioengineering. And this is, I mean, this is where is the life sciences bioengineering part. And at the same time, so about a year ago, Atatürk was finishing his PhD in the microsystems lab, and Diego in the middle of his PhD. And at that time, I was actually looking for a job as I finished my studies. And I talked to André, who accepted to take me for an internship for 3 months at the TTO. So that was actually, we had an agreement that I would work part-time, so 80%, so it would still give me some time to look for a job. So because it would be maximum 3 months, I couldn't stay there then longer. But it was a great opportunity to be doing something while looking for a job and also get to learn a lot of things at the same time. So that's where I moved from the academia to TTO. That was already the first step. And there, so we started working together. He had me looking for a good projects I could work on. So he took the phone and called several professors in labs who went to discuss where I could really actually have, I mean, help in some way and really work on a project that was already in the translational phase from research to industry. And so there were some projects that were still too much in research, but I really wanted to work more on something like regulatory affairs or marketing. And it's where I actually met for the first time Atatürk. And I decided to go on that project because I could really help for actually the part of regulatory affairs, which is very important for a medical device because you need to know which are the steps that you need for certification and then to start selling your product in the medical field. And so I worked on that for a few weeks, a few months, I mean maximum 3 months. And at some point, actually Atatürk and Diego asked me if I wanted to join them to found a startup, the 3 of us. And remember, at that time I was looking for a job, so I was also having interviews with other companies, and the exact same day I had that offer from them and another offer from another company where it would have been a position with a nice salary, and it was also a very nice technology, and And on the other side, it was going with a startup. We didn't know really the potential. I mean, we're trying to see the potential of the technology. And it was also a contract that would be a few months. Maybe 6 months later, I would have been looking for a job again. But I thought that's one train that passes in your life, such an adventure where you can learn so much. It's once, and I went for the startup. A good job I can still find later. So that's how everything started, and then I moved from TTO to the laboratory of microsystems, where we are now hosted to launch the startup. So this is the prototype that was developed by Atatuna during his PhD. So it's a platform to analyze tissue samples, and I will explain you a bit more in details what we're really doing. So basically in research, pharmaceutical companies and hospitals and clinics, there's a need to analyze a lot of tissue samples. For example, in the case of cancer, when you're in a hospital, you want to be able to diagnose a patient and say which kind of drug he can benefit from. And for that, you need to analyze the tissue samples. And so you will obtain the biopsy from the patient. You will get the cross sections that you will put on slides. And then each of these slides will be stained and so that you are able to actually look at the tissue and see what you need to see on the tissue to be able to analyze it. And current techniques are time-consuming and not necessarily precise. And what we offer with Lunaphore is a platform that can actually stain a tissue in less than 5 minutes. And currently it's done in several hours, so we really decreased the time. We did some clinical trials at CHUV, so the university hospitals, that shows that we're 90% more accurate than the technologies they use now in the hospitals. But I'll talk about that more in details afterwards. And we can also reduce the costs of assays, mainly because we use less reagents. So, so the technology itself, how can we actually do that? So we obtain those tissue slides from hospitals. So you have the glass slide and you have the tissue on it. And what is at the core of our technology is a microfluidic chip. I think it's maybe too small, but you have it bigger there. A microfluidic chip that can actually deliver reagents. So whenever you snap the two of them together, it will form a small chamber where you can actually have the reaction between the tissue and the reagents that you deliver. So I actually have a small prototype for those who want to look at it afterwards. But basically, you would put the slide in here. Here's the microfluidic chip, and then you close, and that's how it forms the chambers, and then you can flow the reagents, and it goes out here. All right. So, so at the core of the technology, it's because the microfluidic chip was designed so that we can actually deliver the reagent in a very homogeneous manner, and that we can control at ±1 second the reaction in the chamber. This makes that we can actually decrease also the time of a test. This is at the core of the technology. And a patent has been filed through TTO 2 years ago to protect this technology. And also some clinical trials that were done. So the clinical trials, basically we went to CHUV and we tested 78 samples of breast cancer patients. And what we wanted to see is that patient, can he benefit or not from a certain treatment, a certain drug? And so the outcomes using the technologies is that you have either positive, okay, the person can benefit from the treatment, or negative, and then you cannot. But the problem is that there are many ambiguous results here, and this needs additional tests using other technologies that are more expensive and take more time. And in our case, using our platform, we can decrease by 90% the number of ambiguous results. And that's what was published in one of the top journal papers in the field. All right, so that was, I mean, kind of the status in 1 year ago, actually. This was already done through the PhD of Atatuna. So we had the technology, first filing of patent. We had the core of the team when we decided to go together. But when you do a startup, you have thousands of other things that you need to be aware of and learn to be able to make it work. So it's just not the technology, and so that's where comes the interesting part, the support from other people outside of EPFL. So the very first thing was the support from TTO. This was very crucial because we're just come out from a lab. We're engineers. We have absolutely no idea about the market, how it's going on. And so first contacting them, they will actually look at the potential of the technology. They will see if it could potentially be a license, or you could actually go for building your own startup, what's on the market. And for that, they already give nice feedbacks about that. I think it's very important because often you're very excited about the technology, but maybe somehow it exists already, or I mean, this is something that you need to be careful about. And then for intellectual property, filing of the patents, I think it's very important to remember file the patent before publishing, because that's a big mistake we do. We research, we want to publish as much as we can, but once you publish, you cannot file the patent anymore. So do these steps in this order. To file a patent, you need the money, you need the patent attorney, you need the people to do that. So it takes a bit of time. And if you want to find them yourself, I mean, it's going to be really a long time before you can do that. So TTO was very helpful for that. We could file a patent, and then publishing could be done. And then, as mentioned before, also the contacts, Hervé Lebret, that I think you will see this afternoon. So getting the first contacts to actually know who to contact to actually start doing the whole startup process. And then this comes also to the money part. At the very beginning, Atatuna received the Inno grant, which is a grant that we received through EPFL, but that is a Swiss, the grant from Swiss Commission for Technology and Innovation. And this was very helpful at the beginning because you have some basic money, and this was the money for salaries of 2 people for a year. And then we had to look for other kinds of money, research grants. This was to hire some people also to develop the product. And we also went for prizes. So prizes, it's very nice because if you win it, it's free money. You can use it for many things. But it's also very time-consuming to apply for this because each prize has, you have specific requirements. You need to adapt your business plan, and this can take a lot of time. But if you win, then it's very nice, especially for the visibility also. Because in our case, we're looking for investors, so we really need to have that communication that people see us and then they come to contact us. And yes, of course, investors, yeah, that's the big part we're in now. It's kind of other people to deal with, but it's very interesting also. And then support also in terms of collaborations. We had a lot of coaching, so this was absolutely great because we're 3 engineers, and the business side is extremely important, but we have absolutely no idea about the business. So we had a coach that, thanks to the Inno grant, we had access to that coach that is following us now the whole time. She's very strict, but we're learning a lot. I mean, she's we also have access to some expert coaches in specific fields whenever we want to go more deeper in a part. And some courses. I could follow a business development course a few weeks ago. It was my first business course actually in my life. The rest I just learned it from scratch. And yeah, I think that's very nice. And then partnering, so finding the good people that can work with you to make you just understand what you need to understand to go forward with your startup. So it's in many different fields. As I said, we know about the technology part, but we really need to have expertise in marketing, manufacturing. We also had talked with a lawyer to actually incorporate the company and have consultants for regulatory affairs and so now it's really about finding the good people that can help us and have the experience to make us go forward. And finally also co-development. We're co-developing the platform with another lab who is actually using it now and trying it. So then we get a lot of feedbacks, already first feedbacks, because as you mentioned before, so it's extremely important to have feedbacks from people that will be using it, because we come with the technology, it's great, it's much more, it's faster, it's more precise, but maybe that person in that market won't need it. So you have to make sure that you get the feedbacks from everyone. And so yeah, I think it has been a lot of learning throughout the whole the last year. And I mean, I had absolutely no clue about business before that. So getting a lot of coaching and getting to talk to a lot of people through meetings, even though it's sometimes it's people very highly ranked, but you just get to learn talking to those people, and being challenged a lot. I mean, not only investors, of course, investors, they will challenge you on every single detail of your business plan, but it's also, I mean, you get challenged by your friends, because sometimes they don't understand something of what you're doing, and then you figure out, okay, actually it's true, I'm not very clear on that, I didn't explain it really well, and then you start over again and over again, and we have that business plan that is actually kind of the story, the whole strategy that we want to have for our startup, but it changes every single week. Every single week we have to change something, because we have inputs from people from outside. But yeah, with the help of the coaches, so it's very nice. And yeah, so in terms of achievements, so now during that year we've been developing the product. I've learned a lot about the whole business part, making a full business plan that was consistent. And I think it was somehow rewarded also with prizes. We see that we come up with something that people actually believe in. And one of the latest achievements were also the incorporation of the company that is officially now created as a Société Anonyme. An engineer joined us also, so we're growing the team. And we had the new version of the prototype that was just released 2 weeks ago, so it's also going forward. And we hope to actually, in terms of milestone, and we hope to sell the first platforms in 2015, so in strategic places. Yeah, for that, I think I have to say I'm extremely thankful for all the help that we get, and especially for TTO, that was actually what made me have such a great experience. If anyone can do a startup, I would tell anyone to go for a startup, because that's the greatest experience you can have, really. And yeah, I guess this finishes my presentation. Thank you, and I'll be happy to answer your questions.